Namaskar friends, welcome to the channel JAIIB and CAIIB Made Simple. So this is our IIBF MSME Module B quick revision session. Module B is based on MSME policy, regulatory and MSME finance. So this entire Module B is covered in 6 to 7 chapters and I am trying to cover all these chapters, short notes, short content in just 60 minutes. So friends, I request you to please go through each and every point which I am talking about. I will explain in the lucid manner so that you can understand each and every point clearly, and you can get since you have conceptual clarity, so you can easily get good marks in the examination. So let's get started with our first point. Let's quickly understand the evolution of the Indian MSME policy framework between 1948 to 1991. The policy framework acted as a guiding tool for negotiation, for decision making and drafting detailed policy within the organization. Recognizing the importance of micro and small enterprise in generating employment and ensuring fair income distribution, the government set up a small industrial development organization, or we call it SIDO, in the year 1954. Later it was named as MSME Development Organization. So earlier it was called SIDO, a Small Industrial Development Organization, and later it was called MSME Development Organization. In the following year, key institutions what were the key institutions? Like National Small Industrial Corporation, Khadi and Village Industrial Commission, Code Board were also established in the following year. Several initiatives were also introduced to strengthen the MSME, like product reservation for a small unit, easier access to credit under priority sector lending, exemption from excise duty, preferential treatment in government purchases with a 15% price preference, investment in infrastructure and training institute for skill development and entrepreneurship. In short, this period laid the foundation for a strong MSME ecosystem in India. Now friends, let's look at the institutional initiative and the policy evolution from 1991 to 1999. So friends, the government set up MSME Development Institute to train youth in skill and entrepreneurship. And the government also established tool room with international support to provide technical training. Direct industrial center were also created at the state level to promote the local industrial growth. In 1991, a new policy for a small, tiny and village enterprise was introduced to make them more competitive in a liberalized economy. The focus shifted to infrastructure and technological upgradation, quality assurance through testing center, and technical support via new tool room and subcontracting exchanges. Now financial assistance improved with the launch of SIDBI and a special technology fund. To protect small units, the Delayed Payment Act was introduced. So to protect the small units, the Delayed Payment Act was introduced, ensuring timely payment. And finally, there is a scheme that is called IID scheme, which is called Industrial Infrastructure Development Scheme. So finally, the IID scheme was launched to develop mini industrial estate dedicated to a small industry. So what is this IID scheme? Industrial Infrastructure Development Scheme. So friends, now let's talk about the evolution of the policy framework. So from 1999 onward, India's MSME policy entered a new phase of focused growth. In 1999, the government created the Ministry of MSME to give dedicated attention to the sector. What were the key reforms which were followed? Like credit linked capital subsidy scheme, So this was initiated to promote technological upgradation. Credit guarantee scheme. This was initiated for collateral free loan, encouraging first generation entrepreneur. Then high excise duty exemption limit of 1 crore to reduce the tax burden. So limit raised to 1 crore for high excise duty exemption. Why? To reduce the tax burden. Then market development assistance scheme. So why it was initiated? To help MSME expand their market reach. Meanwhile, the gradual reduction of reserve product encourage competition and liberalization. The real milestone came up with the MSME Act of 2006, which provided a unified legal framework to address sectoral change. Finally, the third policy package of 2007, it emphasized adapting MSME to changing market and boosting the global competitiveness. This era firmly positioned MSME as the key driver of the Indian economy. Now friends, let's look at the MSME Development Act 2006, MSMED Act. It was a true game changer for the sector. Friends, if you are looking for short notes, unit-wise MCQs, there are almost 1000 plus MCQs unit-wise, previous year questions for the MSME IIBF certification examination. You can WhatsApp me on this particular number shown on the screen. We have a course available specifically for that, using which many aspirants have cracked the examination in the past years. You can also join the league, right? For more detail, you can WhatsApp me or you can check the description section of the video. So now let's come back to our MSMED Act 2006. It was the first law to formally define the enterprise, right? It was the first law to define the enterprise, covering both manufacturing and services, and even introduced the category of medium enterprise, bringing micro, small and medium unit under one framework, right? So the act focus on competitiveness. As you can see, what is act focus on? The act focus on competitiveness and growth, creating a national consultative forum, right? It create a national consultative forum, dedicated fund, right? As you can see, it create a dedicated fund and empowering the government to launch targeted scheme. It also ensured credit support, preferential treatment in the government procurement, strong remedies against the delayed payment, and even a simplified business exit process. Alongside, the FDI policy evolved. The earlier 24% equity cap on MSE was also removed, and classification was based on investment in plant, machinery, or equipment. Today, FDI is allowed in MSME subject to sector specific cap and regulation. In short, we can say the 2006 Act provided MSME with recognition, protection, and the tool to compete globally. Now friends, let's look at the de-reservation policy. And the credit framework for MSME. So MSE. Now the 11th 5-year plan highlighted the drawback of reserving product only for small units. Gradually, the reserve list was cut down from 654 items to just 21, encouraging new investment, modernization, and global competitiveness. So earlier there were 654 items in the reserve product. Now after this 11th 5-year plan, it just reduced to 21, right? So this also allowed MSE to scale up and aligned India with the international standard, that is called global alignment. On the credit side, MSE lending was brought under priority sector lending. Domestic bank must allocate 40% of their net bank credit, while the foreign bank earmark 32% with at least 10% exclusively for MSE. Any shortfall by the foreign bank goes into a small enterprise development fund, which we call SEDF, managed by CAIIB. This act like an apex body for our MSME financing and promoting. I told you na, CAIIB is just like an apex body for what? MSME financing and promotion. Now other supportive measures included government procurement preference for MSE, a stronger safeguard against delayed payment, and a simplified exit scheme for closing business unit. So these were the other supportive measures. What are the other supportive measures? Government procurement preference, a stronger safeguard, and simplified exit scheme. Together, these reforms created a more open, competitive, and supportive economy for MSE in India. Now let's look at the FDI policy. Friends, let's cover FDI policy, de-reservation, and credit policy for MSE. First of all, the FDI policy, the earlier 24% equity cap was removed, and MSE was reclassified based on investment in plant, machinery, and equipment or services. Today, foreign investment is allowed, subject to sector-specific limit and the regulation. De-reservation policy, as we have already talked, I told you, the 11th 5-year plan pushed for gradual de-reservation, cutting the reserve product list from 654 items to just 21. This encouraged modernization, it allowed MSE to expand, it opened a space for large firms, and it aligned Indian manufacturing with a global standard. Now friends, on the credit side, I told you that lending to MSE was recognized as the priority sector lending. I think we have discussed it. And CAIIB played a central role, offering refinance support to the bank, directing finance to the enterprise. As you can see, refinance support it provide, direct finance to the enterprise, and development initiative. It take development initiative like training, capacity building, and promotional support. Together, these policies strengthen MSME with capital access, global integration, and institutional backing. Now friends, let's look at the MSME technological upgradation scheme. So friends, First, the ISO 9000 and 14001 reimbursement scheme. So it boosts competitiveness by reimbursing 75% of the certification cost. You can see it reimburses 75% of the certification cost, right? Up to rupees 75,000 for quality and environment management certification. So remember, ISO 9000 is for QMS, quality management certification, and ISO 14001 is for environmental management. So it boosts competitiveness by reimbursing 75% of the certification fee or certification cost. Second, the cluster development program. What is this cluster development program? In short, we call it MSECDP, Micro and Small Enterprise Cluster Development Program. It is a holistic approach that supports skill training, technology upgradation, marketing, credit access, and common facility center. Third, the credit linked capital subsidy scheme. This question was asked in the previous year. In short, we call it CLCSS. It offered a 15% upfront subsidy on institutional credit up to 1 crore, encouraging modernization of the manufacturing unit. Right, so you can see CLCSS, it offered 15% upfront subsidy on what? Institutional credit up to how much? 1 crore. What it does, it encourages modernization of the manufacturing unit alongside the National Manufacturing Competitiveness Program. In short, we call it NMCP. It offered 15% upfront subsidy on institutional credit up to 1 crore. So this NMCP was set up to make MSME globally competitive, right? And it was designed by NMCC. What is NMCC? National Manufacturing Competitiveness Council, right? So what are the key components of this NMCP? First of all, IPR support through awareness, training, and patent registration. You know what is IPR? So it is very simple, right? So that is called intellectual property right support through awareness, training, and patent registration help. Then setting up of IPFC, which is called IP Facilitation Center, and collaboration with a global agency. Second, we have is the entrepreneurial and the managerial development. So via incubators, up to 16.25 lakh support per idea. I think it is 6.25 lakh. Yes, up to 6.25 lakh rupees support per idea. That is called entrepreneur and managerial development. And third is quality initiative. That is called quality management standard. And some quality technology tool. So like QMS, QTT module, awareness drive, globally study mission to help MSME. Now friends, let's focus on the key MSME technology and competitiveness initiative. First, the mini tool room scheme. It was planned under the 11th fifth 5-year plan to set up 15 tool room through PPP model, right? Public-private partnership model, basically it ensuring affordable and modern facility for entrepreneur, right? So modern and affordable facility for entrepreneur. So this was the first thing. Then second thing is the marketing support through barcode assistance. So under this, what happened? Reimbursing 75% of the certification fee for 3 years. It helps a small manufacturer access both domestic and the global market. So under the marketing support barcode assistant scheme, reimbursing 75% of certification fee for 3 years. Then the third one was called lean manufacturing competitiveness program. So it is designed to cut the cost, improve the processes, and boost product quality using global technique like TPM, 5S, JIT, Kanban, right, Pokayok. So a pilot project was implemented across 100 mini cluster with the government support. Now then we have the finally ICT promotion in MSME. ICT promotion in MSME with an outlay of 160 crore. This initiative built e-readiness infrastructure, cluster web portal, e-catalog, and e-commerce platform along with IT training and local solution for capacity building. Right. Together, these initiatives strengthen productivity, quality, and digital competitiveness of the MSME. Now, friends, let's look at the design clinic scheme for MSME. So friends, let's cover 3 important MSME scheme. The first one is the design clinic scheme. It connects MSME with design expert to co-create solution, improve innovation, and add value to the products. Right. With government support of 50 crore, it set up a central secretariat and regional center for design-led competitiveness. That is called design clinic scheme for MSME. Second, we have the marketing assistant and technology upgradation scheme. It focused on MSME cluster with a strong export potential, right? MSME cluster with a strong export potential. It helped with better packaging, modern marketing practices, and competition analysis backed by 19 crore of the government support. Third, we have the technology and quality upgradation support scheme. It is aimed at promoting energy efficient and eco-friendly technology. Key outcomes include lower cost, higher quality, global competitiveness, right? So what are the activities covered under it? Like capacity building, adoption of energy efficient machinery, carbon credit center, and certification support. Together, these three schemes push MSME toward innovation, sustainability, and global market readiness. So, three schemes we have talked now. Digital clinic scheme, which connect MSME with design expert. Second one is the marketing assistant and technology upgradation scheme. And third one is the technology and quality upgradation scheme. Now, let's talk about the skill development initiative, right? So, skill development initiative, let's look at the skill development initiative of the MSME ministry. The objective is clear: to promote self-employment, upgrade entrepreneurial skill, and to make a small enterprise more competitive, right? So how implementation happen? So implementation happen through 58 MSME Development Institute and their branches, offering program like entrepreneurship development, skill development, management development, and the business skill. You can see these are the 4 programs which are offered by the 58 MSME Development Institute, which is called MDI. Now, if we talk about the key features include short industry-focused courses with flexible curriculum. Importantly, 20% of the program are reserved for SC, ST, women, and differentially abled candidate with free training and ₹500 month stipend. Training is also delivered through testing center, tool room, technology development center with both long and short-term modules. With an annual capacity of nearly 3 lakh trainee, this is one of the India's largest skilling initiative, helping many participants turn into entrepreneurs, especially in the backward and underdeveloped region. Now, on the marketing side, the government store purchase program provide big advantage to the registered MSME, including fee tender document, exemption from EMD, that is called earnest money deposit, waiver of security deposit, and 15% price preference in bid against the large industry. These measures strengthen MSME by building skill, supporting growth, and expanding the market access. Now friends, we have something called preferential procurement policy. You know what it means. Let's understand this preferential procurement, export promotion, and infrastructure development for MSME. Under the preferential procurement policy, 58 items are reserved for exclusive purchase from MSE. Section 12 of the MSMED Act make this mandatory, with every ministry, department, and PSU reporting compliance to the Parliament. The goal is simple: to give MSE a strong marketing support, right? On the export promotion, the government give high priority to the MSE export. Support include reimbursement for displaying product at international exhibitions, packaging training with the Indian Institute of Packaging, and assistant under the Market Development Assistant Scheme, which we call MDA. Right. So this cover participation in overseas fair, foreign study tour, trade delegation, sector specific market study, and even anti-dumping cases. Now, in addition, MSE gets 75% reimbursement of the barcode registration fee for 3 years. So this is how the government does the export promotion. And for infrastructure development, the Integrated Infrastructure Development Scheme of 1994, which we call IID scheme, it covered both the rural and the urban area, reserving 50% of the plot for rural region and half of those for micro enterprise. So 50% plot were reserved for the rural region and half of those were reserved for the micro enterprise. Each center has a cost of about 5 crore, with government grant covering 40% in general estate and up to 80% in a special estate like the Northeast, Himachal, Uttarakhand, Jammu and Kashmir. The balance came from CDB, bank, and state fund. Later, this scheme was merged into the MSE Cluster Development Program, retaining its provision as the new cluster, that is called MSE CDP. So we are talking about the Infrastructure Development Scheme of the year 1994. It covered both rural and urban area. It reserved 50% of the plot for rural region and half of those for micro enterprise, and each center had the cost of about 5 crore, with government grant covering 40% in the general estate and 80% in special estate. The balance came from CAIIB, bank and state fund. Later this scheme was merged into the MSE Cluster Development Program or MSE CDP, retaining its provision as new cluster. So these three initiatives, they boosted market access, global reach and infrastructure strength. Now friends, let's talk about the fiscal concession in the form of general excise exemption scheme. So a small enterprise with turnover up to $3,75,000 per year, they got full excise exemption, right? So basically, a small enterprise with a turnover up to $3,75,000 per year, they got full excise exemption, while those up to $1 million also enjoyed benefits, right? Now basically it encourages horizontal expansion. What is the meaning of horizontal expansion? Which means this encourages business to expand by selling up more units instead of just increasing capacity, right? So there are two things are there: horizontal expansion and vertical scaling. Horizontal expansion means setting up more unit, and vertical scaling means increasing capacity. So instead of increasing, encourage the manufacturing company to or businesses to expand by setting up more units. Later, there was even a proposal to extend this excise benefit to medium enterprise on a tapering basis, so that they could smoothly transition as they grew. So there was even a proposal to extend this excise benefit to medium enterprise on a tapering basis. Now friends, let's look at the some more key initiatives. So the anti-dumping cases. So its support extended to MSE Association for initiating or contesting such case. Barcode, already I am talking about it let more and more time. That's 75% reimbursement of one-time registration and annual fee through GS1 India. Infrastructure development IID scheme, already we have talked about. It covers rural plus urban area with 50% reserved for rural area and 50% plot for micro enterprise. We have already discussed. It includes modernization of the existing estate. Cost per center is 5 crore and government grant for general estate is 40%, and for northeast Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, it is up to 80%. Now balance from CAIIB, bank, financial institution, state fund, and now it was later subsumed under the MSE CDP, that is MSE Cluster Development Program. Now then we talk about the consultancy and training services for SME, capacity building, institutional support, enterprise development, business development services, turnkey project, skill upgradation. This comes under it. Now friends, let's talk about the regulatory framework for MSME. So let's quickly understand the regulatory framework. It simply means a system of rules made at both the national and the international level to guide the MSME. So there are two types: mandatory regulation and voluntary regulation. Mandatory regulation like laws and the contractual obligation, and voluntary regulation like the code of conduct and self-regulation. The purpose is to ensure MSME work smoothly, MSME stay competitive, MSME follow responsible practices. That is the purpose. Smooth operation, competitiveness, responsible practices among MSME. Now the government plays two roles. The first role is regulatory, second role is a protective. So if we talk about the regulatory role, how government plays the regulatory role? By imposing norms and restriction. How it plays the protective role? What is the purpose of this regulation? The purpose is to ensure that MSME work smoothly, they stay competitive and they follow responsible practices. Now friends, the government plays two roles. The first role is for regulatory and the second role is for protective. So what is regulatory role? So how it play regulatory role? By imposing norms and restriction. And how it play protective role? By offering incentive, by offering supports and safeguard. So now if we talk about the government measures for MSME promotion, we have the administrative framework. So to promote MSME, we also have administrative framework. The Department of Small Scale Industry manages the overall administration, right? So Department of SSI, they manage and supervise the overall administration of the SSI. The apex body is called SIDO. SIDO full form is Small Industrial Development Organization, right? Which is headed by the Development Commissioner. It runs Services Institute, it runs Branch Institute, it runs Extension Center, Field Testing Center, Production Center, and even Footwear Training Center. So what are the things under administrative framework? First of all, the Department of Small Scale Industry manages the overall administration. Okay, and the apex body is called SIDO. And at the district we have District Industrial Center, we call it DICs. So these are the apex body. CEDO acts like an apex body headed by the development commissioner, and with these much so these are not that much important. And at district level it is headed by DIC with our 422 center. How many? 422 center across almost all district. They act like a single window hub for a small entrepreneur, giving training, credit support, advisory services, etc. Now let's look at the key institutions supporting MSME. So what are the key institutions? So basically the National Institute of Small Industries Extension Training, or we call it NISIET, National Institute of Small Industry Extension Training. They provide research, training and consultancy services. Then we have NSIC, National Small Industry Corporation. They support marketing. They help in government purchases. They even supplies machinery on hire purchase to reduce capital cost. Now talking about the policy instrument, these include financial incentive like loan and grants, fiscal incentive such as tax exemptions, and general incentive like easier regulation. A special focus is also given to backward area with targeted scheme, and certain products are even reserved exclusively for a small scale industry to ensure fair participation in the market. Now friends, let's talk about the key measures to protect MSME. So first of all, we know that financial incentive. CAIIB provides support for marketing, industrial estate and machinery. Startup benefit from seed capital, national equity fund, while liquidity comes from bill discounting scheme. State also offers subsidies on interest, electricity, water, land and capital investment. If we talk about the fiscal incentive, MSME enjoy tax holiday, investment allowance, extra depreciation on new machinery. State may also give electricity tariff exemption. If we talk about the general incentive, so a small unit get exclusive purchase reservation, price preference in government procurement, and a scheme like SESWUY to promote self-employment among educated youth. Full form is Self-Employed Scheme for Educated Unemployed Youth. Now we have special incentive in backward area. So entrepreneur get concessional finance, transport subsidies and have an income tax relief to encourage industry in the underdeveloped region. Now if we talk about the reservation of items, so some products are reserved only for MSME, protecting them from large scale competitor. In short, these measures aims to boost growth, reduce cost and provide a fair market for MSME. So that is called reservation of item. Now let's look at the government initiative for MSME. So friends, let's talk about some major government initiative for MSME and industrial development. So we have sector specific statutory board. What are the sector specific statutory board? Like Khadi and Village Industry Board, right? And Handloom Board is there. Then we have Handicraft Board. Then we have CAIIB Board. Then we have Sericulture Board, Small Scale Industry Board. So these boards focus on promoting rural industry, supporting artisans, modernizing traditional sector. There is also a Small Scale Industry Board that provide guidance and policy support. Now, another big initiative is the creation of the industry estate, which is a special area equipped with infrastructure, factory shed, basic amenities. So these estates provide entrepreneurs with a ready-made environment to start and grow their business. In short, these steps ensure that MSME get the right platform, right support and ecosystem to thrive. Now let's talk about the National Manufacturing Competitiveness Council. In short, we call it NMCC. So the National Manufacturing Competitiveness Council proposed a three-pole strategy: industrial, artisans and agro-based culture. That is called three-pole. On one pole industrial, second pole artisan, third pole agro-based cluster. Why? To boost the manufacturing. The idea is simple. Cluster act like a growth pole for industrial development and even promote collaboration between Indian MSME and those from other developing nations. So we basically cluster, they act like a linkage, they act like a growth pole. For what? For industrial development and promoting collaboration between Indian MSME and those from other developed nations, right? So cluster is acting like a growth pole for industrial development, and they collaborate between MSME, Indian MSME and other nations and developing nations. Now to promote MSME, the Interest on Delayed Payment Act, right? So the Interest on Delayed Payment Act ensure buyer clear due within 120 days. Any delay attract interest at 1.5 times as SBI prime lending rate, or we call it PLR. So this is called Interest on Delayed Payment Act. Friends, if you really think that this content is useful for you and you are able to understand each and every fact, please hit that like button. This will motivate me to make more such and content, and this content will reach other MSME aspirant also. Now friends, let's come back to our discussion. We are talking about the Interest on Delayed Payment Act. What I told you, that to protect MSME, Interest on Delayed Payment Act ensure buyer clear dues within 120 days of goods acceptance, and any delay attract interest at 1.5 times the SBI prime lending rate. Some major initiatives include Pradhan Mantri Rozgar Yojana 1993 scheme, launched in the year 1993. So this Rozgar Yojana aimed to create 1 million jobs by supporting tiny and micro enterprise. Then we have industrial cluster development. So it was also promoted to help MSME share resource, opportunities and risk. For export, MSME receive fiscal financial aid for trade fair, exhibition and even marketing research. Right. Plus a scheme like zero duty on capital good and special recognition and as export on trading house encourage global participation. So zero duty on capital good extended to MSME without condition. Then so some more points we have other important scheme for MSME. Let's have a look. So friends, let's look at some important government scheme for MSME. First is called IIDS, Integrated Infrastructural Development Scheme, IIDS. So the government contribute 5 crore in 2:3 ratio to develop industrial infrastructure in rural and backward area, linking agriculture with industry. It is called IIDS. Again, I am repeating the full form. In Integrated Infrastructure Development Scheme, government how much contribute? 5 crore. For what? In 2:3 ratio sharing. For what? To develop industrial infrastructure in rural and the backward areas. Right, linking agriculture with industry. Now the Marketing Development Assistant Scheme, again and again we are talking about this. In short, we call it MDA scheme. It started in the year 2001. It support MSME in participating, right, in international trade fair, publicity material, overseas market studies and even anti-dumping cases. Then we have TREAD scheme for women entrepreneur. So it is designed especially for women entrepreneur. It provides loan, grant, training, counseling to help them start and grow trade related venture. Then we have preferential government purchase scheme. It makes it mandatory for government department to buy certain item directly from MSME, ensuring steady demand and support. So friends, what is the TREAD scheme? This is for women entrepreneur. Especially it provide loan, grant, training, counseling to help them start and grow trade related venture. Then finally we have the preferential government purchases scheme. It make it mandatory for government department to buy certain item directly from MSME, ensuring a steady demand and support. Now let's look at the key component of the government regulatory framework for MSME, essential elements. Now friends, so that is all about, we are talking about the regulatory framework. So friends, let's understand the key component of the government regulatory framework for MSME. First of all, registration and licensing. So every MSME must follow mandatory guideline to start and operate. Second thing is financial support. Means the government provide loans, subsidies, grant to encourage the growth. Third is the tax policy. So reduce rate, exemptions and simple compliance procedure. Then we have fourth, the labor law. It covers the wages, working conditions, social security benefit. Fifth, we have the environmental norms. It ensures eco-friendly and sustainable practices. So to navigate the framework effectively, MSMEs should stay updated with the latest regulation. They should seek guidance from the government agency. They should use professional expertise for compliance, maintaining proper documentation, making the best use of available scheme and incentive, networking with peers and participating in the consultation. This also help. Now on the legal side, the Industrial Development and Regulation Act 1951 laid the foundation for regulating the small industry. Later, the MSME Development Act 2006, brought into effect from 2nd October 2006, created a unified legal structure to promote, to develop and to enhance the competitiveness of MSME. In short, the regulatory framework ensures that MSME not only grow but also remain compliant, competitive and sustainable. Now friends, let's look at the classification of enterprise. So friends, if you look at the classification of enterprise, basically earlier manufacturing enterprise were classified based on investment and plant machinery, right? So this was the earlier classification pre-2020 criteria. So hardly it will not be asked. Just have a look at it. Up to 25 lakh micro, above 25 to 5 crore small, 5 to 10 crore medium, and for service enterprise this was the criteria. Then came the big change on the 13th May 2020. Now classification is based on investment and turnover. The limit were increased to cover more businesses. Also the old distinction between manufacturing and services were removed. Means a single common definition for all. But a few clarifications were still pending. For example, whether the criteria will be investment and turnover or investment or turnover, and whether trading activity will be included or not. A formal amendment was also awaited to give legal effect to these changes. Now let's look at the revised classification, very very important. So revised classification is now criteria become investment and turnover, so both to be considered. First of all, that is and means both to be considered. Micro means investment should be less than 1 crore and turnover should be less than 5 crore or equal to 5 crore. Small investment means investment should be less than 10 crore, turnover should be less than equal to 50 crore. So 11050, this way you can remember, and just multiply by 5 to get turnover. In terms of investment, 11050 and multiply each one by 5 to get turnover, right? So now let's look at the key highlights. First of all, we have the unified criteria. So no separate rule for manufacturing versus service enterprise, right? So no separate rule for manufacturing versus service enterprise, that is called unified criteria. Now broader coverage, higher investment and turnover limit bring more businesses under MSME, that is called broad coverage. Then we have clarification is awaited whether classification is based on investment and turnover, both condition, or investment or turnover, either condition. So this clarification is awaited, and whether trading activity are covered under MSME or not, it is also awaited. Formal amendment in MSMED Act 2006 awaited for complete implementation and legal update. Now let's talk about the competition of investment, plant and machinery equipment. So what are things which are included? So which are counted for investment, like original purchase price, imported machinery cost including shipping, custom duty, GST and VAT. What are the things that are excluded, which means not counted for investment, like tools, jig, molds, spare, consumables, installations and R&D, installation charge and R&D equipment, pollution, power generation, transformer, electricity, electrical infrastructure, gas producer plant, transport cost of domestic machinery, technical know-how and erection charge. Then storage tank not used directly for manufacturing, firefighting equipment, bank or service charge paid to NSIC or SSIC. So these things are not counted for investment. So what are counted, what are not counted, please remember it, because because once you know what are counted, then only you can calculate the total investment, like original purchase price, shipping, custom clearance, import duty, these are counted. But what are excluded for investment, installation and R&D equipment, power generation, electricity infrastructure, gas production plant, technical know-how, these things are excluded. Now in short we can say pre-2020 it was based on only on investment with different limit for manufacturing and service. After 2020, post 2020, it was based on investment plus turnover with no sectoral distinction. Now friends, let's look at exclusion and investment calculation for plant and machinery. Very very important aspect we are talking about. So while calculating investment in plant and machinery, certain items are excluded. And what are those? I think we have discussed these items: tools, consumable storage, installation charge, R&D equipment, etc., etc. And transportation charge for machinery, know-how, fees, storage tank, firefighting equipment. And beyond this, land building, vehicles, furniture, office equipment, they are also excluded. Now one more point is that it was designed to make MSME regulation simple and hassle-free. Now let's talk about the UAM, Udyog Aadhaar Memorandum. Okay, what is this? Basically for MSME, this is one of the easiest registration process, right? So it easiest registration process introduced under the MSMED Act 2006, right? So basically what happened, it is completely online, it is completely free, right? No fee is no fee is taken, and the portal is also very user friendly. Registration is based on the self declaration, right? Basically you did not submit any kind of document at the time of initiation. So it is online registration, simple, paperless, no supporting document required initially for self declaration. Now basically one Aadhaar number can be used for multiple registration, right? So from one Aadhaar number you can file multiple UAM, right? Suppose one person have two different business, so he can also register using one Aadhaar number. And it imposes flexibility, right? Whether you are manufacturing or whether you are service, right, it cover everything. So flexibility is there, it cover any kind of activity. Then we talk about the identification detail. So the first identification detail is a proprietor, partner or karta, right? So for them you need to give them Aadhaar number. Then we have the companies, LLPs and trust, right? So for them PAN plus Aadhaar of authorized signatory, they are required. So what is required as identity proof? I told you that proprietor, managing partner, karta, Aadhaar number, and for company PAN of the entity plus Aadhaar of the authorized signatory. And now for verification, OTP based Aadhaar OTP verification is done via mobile link to Aadhaar. Completely online, it is completely free. Self declaration is filed on the it is filed on the self certification basis. Multiple UM is there, activity flexibility is there. I told you about all these things. What about the acknowledgement? So UM generated an email upon filing, right? And alternative filing, applicant without Aadhaar or online may submit form 1 to DIC MSME DI, which will upload on their behalf, right? So this is the point. So this system, it has substituted the earlier entrepreneurship memorandum 2. Earlier there was a system that is called EM2, and the UM has replaced the EM2, right? So enterprise which are already registered under EM2 or SSI, they did not re-register but may opt for UM. What about the DIC authority? So general manager authorized to verify the detail and resolve the discrepancy. So DIC authority यानी डिस्ट्रिक्ट इंडस्ट्रियल सेंटर कि जनरल मैनेजर को डिटेल वेरीफाई करने और डिस्क्रिपेंसी रिजॉल्व करने का अधिकार है. So friends, UM has made the registration of MSME very easy, right? So collateral. Now let's talk about the benefit of MSME registration. So MSME registration open the door to powerful benefits like collateral free loan up to 500 lakh, or you can say 5 crore collateral free loan under the CGT MSE scheme. Second point is prepayment protection, means buyer must pay within 45 days as they pay interest at 3 times the bank rate. So that is called payment protection. Third point is TRDS platform. So access to the TRDS platform where MSME can easily discount trade receivable through multiple finances. So because of these 3 reasons, this particular business is beneficial. Now let's look at the additional MSME support scheme. So there is something called financial assistant. So in this case, you might have heard about interest equalization scheme, where 5% relief is given on export credit, bank credit facilitation via NSIC. So term loan, working capital, and non-fund based credit like guarantee and LOC are given. Now basically let's look at the technology and quality upgradation. First thing is the CLCSS, right? So what is CLCSS? In this case, 15% capital subsidy for technology upgradation. Then we have ISO certification reimbursement. So what happened in the ISO certification reimbursement? So you can see up to 75,000 and 75% fee reimbursement. Then we have credit rating support. So credit rating support and energy bill concession, right? This is in the context of technology and quality upgradation. Now what about the market and financial support? So priority sector lending says that bank must allocate fund PSL benefit continue for 3 years even after upgradation. That is called market and financial support. Now we have something called barcoding support. So what is this barcoding support? 75% reimbursement for first 3 years. This is called barcoding support. And MSME scheme are demand driven, means that there is no cap on subsidial disbursal in a year. There is nothing like cap. It depends on the demand. Now friends, let's talk some additional points and additional MSME support scheme. So the first one we have is called the raw material assistance scheme. So basically what it is. So it provides finance up to 90 days so that MSME can buy raw material whether domestic or imported. It helps them manage input on credit and complete the pending order. Now the single point registration scheme, or we call it SPRS, right? So basically under the government store purchase program, by registering here MSME or micro and small enterprise, they get big benefit like free tender set, exemptions from earnest money deposit, and preferential in the government procurement. So by registering here they get this kind of benefit, or we call it EMRD. Now friends, what is this SPRS scheme? Single point registration scheme under the government store purchase program. So by registering here, micro and small enterprise get big benefit like free tender set, exemption from EMD and preference in the government procurement. Then we have the stamp duty and registration fee exemption where new industrial unit in public IT park are exempted from paying this charge. During COVID-19, the government announced the Atmanirbhar package, right, which includes the emergency credit line up to 20% of the outstanding loan fully guaranteed by the government. The loan tenure was 4 year with a 1 year memorandum and it was valid till October 2020. That is called emergency credit line, right. Then we have the subordinated debt scheme. This subordinated debt scheme was 20,000 crore, right, supported for stressed and NPA MSME where the government covered the first 20% loss. Then we have the fund of fund scheme. So this is a 10,000 crore corpus to provide equity to growth oriented MSME, right. So procurement reform were also introduced. For example, global tender up to 200 crore were banned, giving preference to the domestic MSME. Plus the government made it mandatory for CPSE to clear MSME dues within 45 days. So remember this deadline, 45 days. Apart from these, there are ongoing support scheme like term loan for expansion, working capital loan for a smooth cash flow, CLCSS which provide 15% capital subsidy for technological upgradation, ISO certification reimbursement where 75% fee support is provided. I told you early, maximum 75,000 rupees per unit. We have credit rating support, energy concession, barcoding support. Again, I am telling you that 75% reimbursement on registration and renewal fee for first 3 years, right? So these kinds of extra support are being provided. So in short, we can say MSME have a wide variety safety net of scheme ranging from finance and technology upgradation to procurement benefit and relief packages. Now friends, let's talk about a small and medium enterprise development scheme. So the Small and Medium Enterprise Development Bill 2005 was introduced in Lok Sabha on 12th May 2005 and later reviewed by the Parliamentary Committee on Industry. The bill clearly defined and classified a small and medium enterprise while empowering central and state government to frame supportive policy and scheme. It also simplified inspection procedure to ease compliance and introduced provision to address delayed payment to a small enterprise. Importantly, it repealed the 1993 Act on delayed payment, merging it into more comprehensive framework. So repeal of the 1993 Act, right, which was the Interest on Delayed Payment Act, and integrated into the new framework. Now, proposed classification of enterprises. So the bill apply. So there is a bill, 2005 bill, right? This is called First Schedule of Industrial. So basically, the bill apply to the industrial industries listed in the First Schedule of the Industries Development Act 1951. So small enterprise, investment in plant and machinery up to 5 crore. Services, I think this was the earlier definition. So no need to go through it again. Now, advisory provision. What does it say? So a central advisory committee will recommend the classification norm. The government can revise limit and even consider employment and turnover. What about the memorandum filing? I told you, for medium enterprise, it is mandatory filing with the center, and for the small enterprise, it is optional, depending on the state regulation. Now we have NB MSME board, and that's called National MSME board. So this is an advisory body to guide SME policy. Its member includes central and state ministers, RBI representative, industry institution, and 10 SME association member plus an economist and industry expert. That is called NB MSME. Now, what are the measures which has been taken to promote a small and medium enterprise? Let's have a look. Very, very important aspect. So basically the government support SME through skill development, marketing aid, better infrastructure facility. A state government can even provide relief by exempting a smaller enterprise with less than 50 employees from certain labor law, like the Employees Liability Act, Weekly Holiday Act, Employment Exchange Act, and Apprentice Act. On the financial side, RBI issues guideline to improve the credit access. So on the financial side, RBI improve guideline. RBI basically issues guideline to improve the credit access, while central and state government encourage SME through preferential purchase policy in the public procurement. Now, to reduce red tape, inspection are now simplified with self-certification and self-regulation framework. The SME Development Bill 2005, are also. Now friends, state government can even provide relief by exempting a smaller enterprise with less than 50 employee from certain labor law like the Employee Liability Act, Weekly Holiday Act, Employment Exchange Act and the Apprentice Act. Right. So this can be done by the state government. Fine. Now to reduce the red tape, inspection are now simplified with a self-certified board. I told you about this early. Advisory committee, flexible criteria, board composition. So here you can see, right, credit guidelines I talking about. To reduce the red tape, inspection are now simplified. The SME Development Bill 2005, why it was there? So basically it introduced the advisory provision. Right, including an advisory committee to define the classification norm, provide flexibility to revise investment threshold, and an enterprise memorandum system where medium enterprise must file detail while a small one may do as per their state rule. Right. So this is mandatory filing for medium enterprise memorandum, and a small enterprise is optional as per the state development. Finally, a national MSME board was set up to recommend policy. The board include ministers, secretaries, RBI official. We have talked about it. Now let's look at some more point regarding the SME development bill. We have just talked about now. So what are the measures to promote SME? Central program like a scheme for skill, marketing and infrastructures. Right. Then we have exemptions. State may exempt SME less than 50 worker from certain labor and compliance law, credit guidelines to be framed by RBI, and procurement policy preference for SME in government and PSU purchase. If you look at the inspection and regulation, self-regulation means inspection to follow self-certification norms, and then record compliance. So burden on SME has been minimized. Now if we talk about the maintenance of record, right? So maintenance of record, SME to maintain prescribed record and file return with central government. What about the delayed payment provision? So no agreement. So payment timeline is buyer must pay within 30 days. No agreement. If it is no agreement, maximum 30 days. If it is with agreement, maximum is 75 days. And penalty is the bank rate plus 9% on delayed payment. Dispute resolution by industry facilitation, right, which is a state government body. Industry Facilitation Council. Then appeal allowed only if 75% of the disputed amount deposited upfront. Mandatory disclosure, which means buyer must disclose unpaid due and interest in annual account. Such interests are not tax deductible. Then the framework standard, the SME protection, simplified the compliance, ensure timely payment. Now let's look at the Udyam registration. So it is an official electronic registration certificate for micro and small and medium enterprise. You can think of it like a digital identity card for your business. So the old Udyog Aadhaar Memorandum system has now been scrapped and replaced by the Udyam registration. So it is of the voluntary nature, which means it is not compulsory, but registering brings huge advantage. So while optional, it is highly recommended for business. Advantages are easy access to loan and credit, eligibility for subsidies, government procurement preference in tender, and other incentive under MSME scheme. Now what is the registration process? So first of all, you just provide your detail, business type, turnover, employment, right, on the portal. No documentation is required. You don't need to upload PAN, Aadhaar, GST or any supporting certificate. Right. Then the entire process is digital and not user friendly, and you get your Udyam certificate instantly once you apply. So in short, Udyam registration becomes simple, paperless, and rewarding. Now Udyam registration number, let's talk about it. So basically every enterprise that registered under Udyam get a unique permanent identity number, which is called Udyam registration number. So after the registration, So after registration, an e-certificate is required, and this e-certificate serves as an official proof of the MSME status, making the unit eligible for government scheme, incentive and support program. That is called e-certificate. Now, who can register? So user engaged in trading, manufacturing and services that meet the prescribed limit, they can register. For example, a micro enterprise means investment in plant, machinery and equipment up to 1 crore and an annual turnover up to 5 crore. I think you know it. So Udyam registration we have talked just now. Electronic form it should be submitted. So electronic MSME certificate issued by the Government of India, replacing the Udyog Aadhaar Memorandum. right? It is a voluntary process, but it offers significant advantage for MSME. It provides access to government benefits, subsidies, incentive, and scheme. Now, if you look at the registration process, it is based on self-declaration, fully digital, paperless, no document submission is required. On successful registration, enterprise receive a unique and permanent Udyam registration number. We call it URN. URN means Udyam registration number. An e-certificate, which is called Udyam registration certificate, issued as a proof. If you look at the eligibility criteria, so here near this table you can see that micro enterprise up to 1 crore, right? Annual turnover up to 5 crore. Small enterprise up to 10 crore. Annual turnover up to 50 crore. I think that part has missed, right? Now medium enterprise, 10 to up to 50 crore, and annual turnover is up to 50 crore. So what is the benefit of Udyam registration? Let's have a look. Because it provides you easy bank loan under priority sector lending, eligibility for government subsidy, exemptions and concession, access to schemes like CGTMSE or called Credit Guarantee Fund Trust, and CLCSS, which is called Credit Linked Capital Subsidy Scheme. Now we have something called legal protection against delayed payment from buyer. Yes. So what are the legal protection legal protection against delayed payment from buyer? So eligibility to register on GEM, that is called Government E-Marketplace, and TREDS, that is called Trade Receivable Discounting System. MAT means minimum alternate tax credit extended from 10 to 15 years. So this point we are talking about the benefit of the Udyam registration. Then facility for one-time settlement of dues to ease the financial stress. Now friends, what are the eligibility for Udyam registration? Already I told you. Right, so let's have a look. So friends, Udyam registration is open to a wide range of business entity, whether you are a proprietorship, whether you are a partnership firm, whether you are an HUF, whether you are an OPC, right, public company, LLP, producer company, cooperative society, a smaller undertaking, all are eligible for it. The only condition is that your enterprise must fall under the MSME classification norm. Now friends, let's talk about the benefit of Udyam registration. So what is the benefit? So once you are registered, your business upload exclusive government support, including scheme. Let's talk about Udyam registration for MSME. It is open to wide range of business, proprietorship, HUF, partnership firm, OPC, private and public limited company, right, producer company, LLP, association, cooperative, and many other. And to qualify, enterprise must meet the MSME threshold, which is investment up to 50 crore in plant and machinery and turnover up to 250 crore. Right. So what are the benefits? Access to government schemes, seamless integration with IT, GST and GEM, government e-marketplace, priority sector lending, easier bank loan at lower rate, extended MAT credit, forwarded up to 15 years, and lower interest rate, typically 1% to 1.5% less than the normal. In short, we can say Udyam registration open door to growth, saving, and government support for MSME. Now the conclusion is that from this discussion that Udyam registration is a gateway for MSME to unlock powerful government scheme, loan and incentive. While it is voluntary, early registration ensure quick access to support and opportunities. So what are the documents required for Udyam registration? So to register you need just few documents like PAN card of the enterprise, Aadhaar number of the concerned person based on the business type, whether it is proprietor, managing partner, karta, or authorized signatory. GST number you require only if GST registration is mandatory. That is simple document, big benefit. Right. Now what are the steps to obtain Udyam registration online? So let's look at the step to obtain Udyam registration online. So first of all, you visit the official Udyam registration portal and choose the option for new entrepreneur not registered at MSME. So on the home page you click on the option for new entrepreneur not registered at MSME or those with EM2. So friends, first of all, visit the official Udyam registration portal and choose the option for new entrepreneur not registered on MSME. Okay, then enter your Aadhaar number and name, validate with OTP, move to the PAN verification, select your organization type, provide PAN detail, confirm with ITR and GST-IN are applicable. Next, fill in the Udyam registration form. So these are the steps, right? These are the steps for registration. So in that case, you should fill all the details. So we no need to go through each and every detail, right? These are the steps. Now let's look at the investment and turnover declaration. After filling the detail, you must complete the investment and turnover declaration by selecting the correct option. And finally, enter the final OTP sent to your registered mobile and submit the form. Once successful, your Udyam registration certificate will be emailed to you. This certificate is completely online and even has a dynamic QR code for instant verification. The best part is that Udyam registration certificate is permanent, no renewal is required. This saves time and effort, letting you focus on growing your business. Then we have the credit evaluation process. So what is this? Before granting loan or credit card, bank perform due diligence, basically checking the customer financial health, right? So for this, they rely on the CIC, that is Credit Information Company, which are independent third party that collect and share the financial data. So a credit report is prepared. The report includes loan, credit card history, repayment behavior, and other financial transaction. So based on this report, a credit score is generated, a simple number that represent your credit risk. So bank and NBFC use this credit score to approve or reject credit request. Most importantly, CIC ensure accuracy because they collect data only from reliable and authorized source. So in short, CIC provides the backbone of the credit evaluation process, helping lender take safe and informed decision. Now have a look at the key highlight on the credit report and credit score. So friends, these are the most critical indicator of a personal financial health. Bank and financial institution always check them before approving loan or credit card. So in India, CIC handle this process. They are licensed and they are regulated by the Reserve Bank of India. So these company function under the Credit Information Company Regulation Act 2005 along with the rules framed in 2006. Now who can access this report? So mainly bank, NBFC, other authorized entity, they can access this report. So we are talking about who are the authorized member of CIC. So bank, NBFC, other authorized entities and individual, they can access. And here is an important compliance rule. Credit report must follow an RBI approved format, and the information has to be disclosed within a set time frame to ensure accuracy and reliability. In short, credit report and score are the backbone of financial decision making. Now friends, CIBIL was established in the year 2000 as India's first credit bureau. It has over 900 members including bank and NBFC and issues the famous CIBIL score, a key factor in loan and credit card approval. Next we have Equifax. So Equifax, so it was originally founded in the year 1899 in Atlanta. It entered India in 2010. It even run a microfinance bureau to support microfinance institution. Experian. So Experian launched in the year India in 2006, a joint venture with bank recognized globally for innovation. It compiled credit report and uses data from multiple financial institutions. High Mark Credit Information Services. It was founded in 2005 in Mumbai. It serves individual, SMEs and commercial borrower. Its reports are widely used by bank and it charges only a nominal fee for issuing credit report. So together these four CIC plays a vital role in shaping credit decision across India. Experian, Equifax, CIBIL and High Mark Credit Information Limited. Please remember this name. Now we talk about the DNB report highlight. So this is called Dun and Bradstreet report, a key tool to measure a company credit worthiness. So these business credit reports are used by lender and partner during payment negotiation. Companies can generate them themselves or they have creditor created them. Why it matter? Late payment reported to DNB can hurt your business credit profile. So always monitor your report online. Now if your company is not listed yet, so you can create a free DNB report by getting a DUNS number. So you can get a DUNS number and you can create a free, if your company is not listed, you can create a free DNB report and submitting your company detail. Remember, business credit report have fewer regulation. Any party can access your report. So incomplete or negative data can impact your reputation. So managing your DNB report effectively is essential for a smooth business operation and trustworthy lender. Now what are the key components of DNB reports? So company basics will be there, general information, business history, registration detail. So company basics must be there. Then government interaction, which means activities involving government agencies, operational metrics like insight into the company operation and industry context, financial information like up to 3 years of financial statement voluntarily submitted, public record, liens, judgment and other legal finding. Then payment behavior like timeliness of payment to creditor and vendor. So why it matter? Voluntary data submission ensure accuracy without forcing proprietary disclosure. So what are the key score in DNB report? First is the PAYDEX score in the range of 1 to 100. So it track payment timeliness. 100 means excellence. Then we have the credit score 101 to 670. It predict default risk. 670 means lower risk. Then we have the financial stress score in the range 1001 to 1875. It estimates the failure risk. So 1875 means minimal risk. So PAYDEX score, credit score and financial stress score. Remember these are the three score. PAYDEX score 1 to 100. 100 means excellence, credit score 670 means lower risk, financial stress score 1875 means minimal risk. So DNB rating and viability rating reflect the overall financial strength and stability. Now if we talk about the importance of the DNB rating, so credit worthiness assessment. Why is this DNB rating so critical for business? Because supplier and creditor rely on it to judge the financial reliability. Report creation. Business can proactively generate their own report to ensure accurate information. Negotiation advantage. A strong DNB report helps secure favorable net 30 payment term, reducing reliance on expensive short-term financing. And finally, cost efficiency. So it avoid high interest loan or invoices factoring that can range from 15% to over 60%. Right. So while you are negotiating with vendor, so when to check your DNB report? While negotiating with vendor, while applying for loan or finance, while lease agreement and renewal, while bidding on contract, while evaluating investment opportunity. In such cases, you should check your DNB report. What are the significance of DUNS number? It enables an independent, objective DNB report. It maintains accurate, up-to-date business information, free application and report generation. So a well-maintained DNB report strengthens credibility, improve financial terms, and ensure a smooth business operation. Now, how to access and maintain the DNB report? So it is quite simple. Generation and access. So report can be created by creditor or the company itself, and it can be viewed by vendor, lender, and partner. What about the transparency? So it offers an independent, comprehensive view of the credit profile, including industry context. What is the opt-out option? So business can withhold certain information while obtaining a DUNS number. What about accuracy and monitoring? So regular updates are essential. Review your DNB account at least quarterly to avoid credit evaluation based on outdated data. So executive summary component include company basic, DNB rating, paid X score, predictive analytics. These are the very important things. Right. Now friends, there is something called Mira report, which is called Minesh Gandhi. Right. So meet Minesh Gandhi, the visionary founder and managing director of the Mira Inform Private Limited, a leading credit information service provider. He started his journey in the year 1978 with Mercantile Information and Reference Agency, which we call Mira. Right. So while he was studying at the Narsi Monji College, Mumbai. Right. So he started his journey with Mercantile Information and Reference Agency. By 1983, he evolved it into a joint stock company, which is called Mira Inform Private Limited. Trusted globally, Mira Inform serve bank, financial institution, credit insurer, legal firms, consultants, multinational company. It provides high quality credit opinion and business information report. With over 30 years of industry experience, the company has won prestigious awards like IIMM, ASSOCHAM, European Quality Award. So Mira Inform empower smart business decision through research-driven insight, resolving complex business challenges, a robust global corporate database for accurate, timely information, a diverse credit risk management report to evaluate the credit worthiness effectively, and finally, transforming risk into a strategic report, right? A strategic opportunity for business worldwide. In short, Minesh Gandhi and Mira Reform are pioneers in delivering trusted data-based credit solution that enable informed and responsible business decision. So let's look at some of the key features of Mira report. So Mira Inform Credit Report provide a detailed, reliable view of any company profile and financial health. So company overview like corporate history, registration detail, contact information, right, business profile, activities, product line, trademark. Then we have import and export data. What are the major supplier, client, trade transaction. Then corporate structure like subsidiary, affiliated firms, financial insight it provide like analysis of the last 3 year financial and key ratios, legal history detail, risk and reputation, credit assessment. So why use Mira report, Mira Inform report? For comprehensive insight, for collaboration analysis, for negotiation strength, extensive database, and award-winning quality. This is the second most valuable credit information brand in India and hold international acclaim, listed among top business experts by OSCE Switzerland. Right. So what are the services included under it? Like education verification to confirm academic credential. These are the background check. Then professional license validation, employee history review, criminal disclosure review, reference verification. And if you look at the market overview, so it provides concise snapshot of the commercial or industrial market. It helps business understand the key market threat to inform strategy. Data sourced from government department, trade and industry association, market publication, company and state government agency, right? So these are the key components. So market size, market trend, leading supplier, distribution channel, trade statistics, industry organization, and customs topics, right? So it provides business with economic context to devise effective strategy and engage with market player confidently. So that is all about module B. I hope everything is clear now. So please go through this video once, and if you want PDF, you can WhatsApp me on this particular number to get detail. If you really think